What's going on, everybody? This is Black Aries, and I'm coming at you with my very first thoughts about Hammond the Wrecking Ball. First of all, I have never been more excited for a character to come out in this game, and like you'd be like, that's kind of a bit of a stretch. I mean, like, I just last video I was talking about we need more high skill characters in this game. Whoever Hero 28 is, they have to be high skill, high impact kind of thing. Because when you have low skill and high impact, you get Brigida, and Brigida kind of broke the game when she came in, and a lot of it was really just really easy to do. But with Hammond, he looks like one of these. Now I haven't had a chance to play Hammond yet. I don't have have him on the PTR. I play on console because times are hard. But from the look of Hammond, he looks like a character who's gonna be one of those people that you might forget about the enemy team has until he decides to strike, And I feel like that's something that this game has been missing, this high skill, high mobility, high mobile tank that it takes a lot of pressure and it takes a lot of the emphasis away from this super slow, heavy tank meta that we have right now with Brigida. So like I said before, that's my first things first. I just want to get out of the way. I'm so excited for Hammond to come out. But talking about Hammond specifically, I think he's gonna be one of these heroes that, of course, he's going to be a part of dive. He is probably the diviest tank in the game. The problem with Hammond is he doesn't have a ton of burst, right? He doesn't have a ton of damage in general, right? I've been hearing a lot of things about people talking about how he's overpowered and how all this different stuff and yada yada yada. I don't. I think every hero, when they first get into the game, has the feeling of being overpowered, just because they're new and like their abilities are never been seen before, and their abilities are different, and everybody's trying to figure like how they're gonna work in the meta, how is this gonna whatever, all this different stuff. I don't think he's gonna be overpowered. I think he has a very, very high skill ceiling, high skill floor, high skill whatever you want to call it. And so when you see the plays that really, really good Hammond players can make, and some of the things they can do, it's impressive to the point where just like it's impressive and it's oppressive. When you see Hammonds that cannot get off the point because you can't get them off, that's not because Hammond's overpowered. That's just because they know when to pop adaptive shield. So like I said before, so let's go run down of all his abilities. He has the grappling hook, so he can swing and get to maximum speed and all that stuff. He has the adaptive shield, which gives you a flat rate of 100 shields, right? But it stacks up an extra 100 for every enemy in the vicinity, which is kind of insane. Honestly, that's kind of insane because you can go from say 10 health to 610 depending on how many enemies are in the vicinity, which I'm just like, if that ain't a get out of jail free card, I don't know what is. Like people talk about Doomfist's ultimate is like a get out. He needs to ult for that. This is immediate like nah, bro. You thought like so it's pretty cool. Of course, he has his automatic weapons. They're close to soldiers' weapons from what I've seen. I've seen damage statistics and stuff like that. They're very, very close to soldier weapons. Of course, they're nowhere near as good because soldiers are DPS and Hammond's a tank. So plus you still need the level of tracking, still need to get headshots, still need to do all that sort of thing. So they're not they're that's the closest comparison to them. And then on top of that, he has his pile driver, which he slams it to the ground. To me, that's Hammond's hardest ability to use, and it's going to be the most important. If you, like I said before, Hammond right now probably is the diviest tank in the game, right? If you don't hit that pile driver, your initiation as Hammond becomes a lot weaker. Because you can roll into a fight, sure, but there's certain things. For example, what divas do when they try to initiate a fight, they fly at you, they use their rockets, they're shooting at the same time, they'll hit you with the melee at the end of the flight path, and so they get some burst damage on you before they start, they initiate with the whole team. Reinhardt, whenever he dives in, it's a charge most likely, right? Or he'll throw a few fire strikes. Winston, when he dives in, when he comes down on the ground after his leap, he will most likely punch and then land, and that gives you a nice bit of burst damage for any squishy targets. Hammond's version of all those things is pile driver, which is probably the hardest to get value out of, and it's probably the hardest to use, but you have to set yourself up for those things. What I've been hearing a lot is Hammond is the Doomfist of the tank lineup, and that makes me like, that gives me all the warm fuzzies, because Doomfist is hard to play. Doomfist is hard to get a lot of value out of. But the one thing Doomfist is rewarding, because if you can land your hits, if you can land all your abilities, if you can land your shots, it's very hard to get a Doomfist out of that snowball, like that feeling where he's just stacking everything, he's just continually going, everything is chaining, and I feel like that's what Hammond is, with an added touch of mobility because of his grappling hook. So I think some lineups that we're gonna have to see. I mean, what is Hammond good with? What can Hammond run with and it be, not, I wouldn't say acceptable, but just something that's deadly, right? One big talk that everybody's been having lately is Hammond running with a triple dive meta, right? Triple tank, triple dive meta, right? Now, we've had triple tank before, and of course we had dive before, and I feel like Jeff kind of like saw the two in both of his hands. He's like, what if I just push these together? And, you know, and whatever. So the Winston, D.Va, and Hammond as this super divey, down your throat, like initiating from everywhere. Because here's the thing, D.Va is, you could probably see her coming after a while. Not after a while, but you probably can see her coming. Winston, depending on where he jumps from, you can see him coming. Hammond can just swoop in over your whole team, pile driver down. You guys all took 100 damage, knocked you all into the air, and then Winston, D.Va can come and clean up, regardless of if you have a Zenyatta or if you have, you know, any other DPS or anything, whatever. Those three can clean you up pretty quickly, right? So that's what I'm looking at right now, and it's funny. I thought about this meta before anybody was even talking about it. I'm like, yeah, that's gonna be a problem, you know. But so Winston, D.Va, and whatchamacallit, and Hammond was probably gonna be a pretty good combo. Now, everybody knows I'm biased to my girl Zarya. To me, she's the best tank in the game, and I would love to see her work with Hammond, especially if you're kind of allowing the Hammond to do his shenanigans. So if you're communicating with your Hammond, say he's like, I'm gonna go in, right? Cool, get him a bubble. So you get him a bubble in the beginning of the fight. He pile drivers down. He does his own, you know, whatever Hammond does, sweeping around, moving around, all those different things. And on top of that, you have Zarya backing him up when she's obviously getting a ton of charge. I think Hammond's ult, to me, isn't the best. It's one of those ults where it's like, it could be wasted very easily, but the times where it does work, it's all about the meta. It's all about the mind game. I feel like there's a huge mind game that we haven't even begun to see with Hammond yet, and that's what's so exciting about him. We're going to see a lot of like placing mines behind the enemy team, using a pile driver down, telling your team to initiate, right? And then your team, say it's a Reinhardt, say it's whatever, pushes into their team and pushes them back into the mines, right? Or just things like that, things where it's like, this isn't just so cut and dry. You can't just drop them down the middle of of an enemy team because they take a second to activate. They can just walk out of it. You have to be a little bit smarter with these kind of things, a little bit smarter with the way you play. And I feel like that's what Overwatch needs, man. I think that's why I'm so excited about it. And I feel like that's what Overwatch truly needed, was smarter play, smarter heroes, like heroes that took more strategy, heroes that took more whatever. Hammond can be wild. I'm sure we've all seen a gameplay of the Wrecking Ball so far, and I'm just swinging around a singular pole in the middle of a thing. You know, obviously that's not how you want to play him all the time, but I feel like a lot of ways to be one of those god tier Hammond players. You know, like you'll see, like I feel like Hammond is like the tank version of a mix of like D.Va, Doomfist, and like Tracer. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's just like, you have to zip in, do your damage, zip out, and you have, the way you position yourself in the beginning of fights is the best way for you to be effective. You know, positioning is going to be key, and I just can't wait to see what happens with them. But that's my take with Hammond. I'm going to post a lot more videos about what I think can counter him super hard, and what I think is going to be the best ways to deal with Hammond. Because, of course, when he first comes out, everyone's going to want to play him. Everyone's going to want to, you know, do their thing with him. Everyone's going to be a self-proclaimed Hammond main, like I am. And everyone's going to try and get a little bit of, try to feel him out, stuff like that. So we're going to talk about what's best to counter Hammond. And I think Blizzard, well, not I think, I know Blizzard for a fact nerfed and buffed some characters specifically because Hammond was going to come out, and we're going to talk about that in the next video. I hope you guys have a good one. This is Black Aries. Like and subscribe. Y'all know how YouTube works. Don't need to tell you. This is I'm out. Peace.